Republicans are ready to work. But what we can't help but feel like here is the Democrats spell summit S-E-T-U-P. And all this is going to be is some media event used as a preamble to shove through Obamacare 2.0, and we're not going to have any of it.
Even Chris Van Hollen realized that Mike Pence scored the soundbite battle.
Yeah, but called me D-U-M-B. It took me 3 times to figure out what he was saying. Top line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And it's twitter.com/thenote. Answer our question of the day. Let us know what you think on this and many other things.
Anything you'd like.
Anything you like.
Get us started. What's your top line?
President's plan. Words we can say at long last in the health care debate. President Obama has released his preferred health care plan. It is mostly the Senate-passed bill with some key tweaks, namely taking out some of the special deals that got all the blowback. And David, this is an interesting strategy from the White House. They're putting this out 3 days before the big health care summit as a starting point for negotiations, saying, look, this is what we want. Now let's try to get to the table.
No doubt about that. The idea, though, about Republicans and how they react to this and what they do, you clearly already see the pushback on there, and I'm not sure that they're wrong. I mean, it will be some sort of theater on Thursday, and it's a matter now of whether or not the Republicans can extract something for themselves out of that. Budget crunch, yes. Some governors all gathered in Washington, D.C. this weekend are very concerned that the worst is yet to come. And this is probably true for their state budgets, Rick, because as you know, that stimulus funding now runs out. So as they're planning their fiscal year 2011 budgets, they don't have that money to rely on anymore. Jim Douglas, the Republican governor of Vermont, says the worst is yet to come. Tim Pawlenty this weekend was saying that he fears a double dip. Some Republicans think some governors overall think they're past the worst. But this is exactly the topic that's being talked about at the White House right now behind closed doors, is how the federal government can continue to help the states not face this double dip.
And to do it in any way that doesn't say stimulus part 2, because that is a political nightmare to bring that up again. A lot of Democratic governors won't be shy about saying we need more money. Some of the union chiefs, they'd like to see more money pumped in the economy, but it's a tough thing to do politically. We know how that one works. Job logjam. Speaking of tough calls in the Senate, Harry Reid is looking for 2 Republicans to cross party lines. Frank Lautenberg is on the sidelines, and of course, they only have 59 votes normally. One of those Republicans might be Scott Brown. They're trying to get another vote for the jobs bill that was slimmed down to only $15 billion by the Senate. But this is one of those coin flip type of votes. It's not clear that the Senate Majority Leader Reid has the votes to get this through, and that would be a major blow at this point.
I do think they're going to have Scott Brown's vote on this, and my guess is Mitch McConnell said some of his members may show up. So I don't know if they may get more than 2, the bare number they need, as you're saying, to hit 60. Ron Paul's party, yes. At CPAC this weekend, that meaningless straw poll, proving it's meaningless in terms of its predictive value for the nomination battle in 2012. Ron Paul gets 31% of the vote. Obviously, half the electorate there at CPAC were college kids, people under the age of 25. And I don't think any other real 2012 contender really worked the straw poll vote this year. Mitt Romney has won the 3 previous years. But it does go to the point, again, that this gathering of conservatives is not the same gathering that will be nominating a Republican candidate in 2012.
Yes, and George Will's point yesterday about the Big Tent having a freak show. There's an element in the party that the party establishment can't be thrilled with. Ron Paul is not going to be the standard bearer in 2012 under any scenario. And although there's a lot of folks out there that believe in his principles, that's not necessarily a productive energy toward the nomination.
And we see this in the Democratic Party as well. There's a freak show element on both sides. We are going to begin with the huge healthcare news this week, with the president putting his plan up on the whitehouse.gov website. We're joined by Karen Davenport. She is the director of health policy at the Center for American Progress, one of the liberal think tanks in town where the White House really listens to what you guys have to say. So thank you for being here. I do want to begin with what the White House put on its website. It is the Senate bill with some of these fixes, they call them, to try to make the Senate bill, I guess, more palatable to House Democrats. One of which, long debated, was this idea of the Cadillac tax. Unions worked out this deal behind closed doors, and now the White House is so fearful that it looks like this backroom deal, they're making it available to everyone. Well, won't that add dollars to the price tag?
Well, they've done a couple things with the financing on the bill, and I'd say generally he has used as a platform the work that's happened over the last year and the Senate bill, and he's laid out his priorities and the kind of changes that he's made to that. There's the Cadillac tax. He's also looking at expanding the the payroll tax in terms of both earned income for higher earners, and then also in terms of unearned income, so like interest income and royalties and rents and that kind of stuff. So he's, changed the financing around a little bit, I think, so that it, both conforms with what the House has tried to do, which is to look at how can the wealthiest Americans make a contribution to making sure we all have health care security, but then also looking at the cost containment kind of strength that they see in the Cadillac tax, that one of the issues of having very generous health benefits may be to induce you to use more health care than you otherwise would. So he's looking at, I think, kind of walking a line there.
Are Republicans right to be skeptical about the image of this starting over? I mean, this is the Senate-passed bill with some changes, but this is not, you can read through this all you want. This is not, you don't see anything there where you say, okay, we're catering to Republican ideas here.
Well, I think when you look back to the plan that the president campaigned on when he was running for president, and then all of the ideas that have been developed in the last, year and a half since then, it's along the same ideological or philosophical continuum, and I don't think you can expect him to come out with something that's counter to what he supported all along. I expect that the Republicans are pretty good at political theater themselves, and they will be able to make their own points in the summit. I, think that the White House is, interested and open to their ideas and what they bring to the table, and is looking for how they can incorporate that. But they, they're trying to be true to what they believe and how we need to be looking at really comprehensive reform. And I think some of the rhetoric that we've seen coming out from the Republicans isn't necessarily about comprehensive reform.
My understanding is that part of the president's goal in passing a comprehensive health care reform package is to guard against the kind of premium increases that we saw out in California with Anthem and the 39% increase in what have you. If the bill does that, I'm confused as to why they needed to add in this regulation piece today that we're reading about with HHS Secretary Sebelius being able to sort of come in and say how much rates are about to go up. Doesn't that sort of negate the fact that healthcare reform is indeed going to make sure that premiums don't skyrocket?
Well, I guess I think of it as sort of a backstop, right? Like if all of the pieces in health reform work as we think they're going to, and having particularly around the individual market, which is where these large rate hikes, which are not just in California, incidentally, but are in other states as well. If we see the more competition and more people in that market, so that that holds the rates more steady also, that will presumably mean that the secretary doesn't have to come in and do that. But should there be an adjustment period, or should it not work exactly as planned, being able to give the states some more tools and to have that kind of federal involvement, I think will be helpful. Particularly, I guess you really want it because, the federal government and therefore the taxpayers are also helping people purchase coverage in that market, and you don't want it to be at exorbitant rates.
Karen, you referenced staying true to the key principles here. I just want to read you something that was part of a report that you co-authored from last March from CAP. Quote, "There's no question a public plan within a public exchange is necessary." Clearly, President Obama has said similar things as well. This does not, though, include a public plan as part of a public exchange. It's not in there. Is the bill going to do everything that it needs to do, given that?
Well, I think in that report, what we said was that a public plan would be a really important tool for helping to keep healthcare costs down and to have real competition within an insurance exchange, which is the structure that we're talking about. I think that there are multiple ways of making that happen. That was the way that we thought was best. It's clearly the way the president thought was best. But on balance, if you're looking at all of the other pieces in the bill, it's certainly worth moving forward without a public plan.
So this does as much, you think?
I think that it's harder to do without a public plan, but it's still doable.
And very quickly on the politics of this, is your sense that what got posted on the White House website today can pass the House of Representatives?
That's an excellent question that I'm sure Nancy Pelosi's working hard on to find out.
Good answer. Karen Davenport of the Center for American Progress, thank you very much for being here.